All right, yo, what's up, everybody? So, welcome to another guided meditation. I want to talk about working with guides today. And 2 weeks ago, we had started this conversation, and in my mind, I had like a really simple process. We were gonna like work on building a mutually beneficial, non-hierarchical, right? Fancy big words, right? But just like a really sweet relationship with our guides that just has space for equal exchange, where again, and these are just concepts that I really value, and y'all don't have to. But for me, I'm not of like the belief system that my guides are like perfect, that they know more than I do. Um, I'm of the mindset that like my lived experience really matters, that like the things that I've like value internally, my hopes, my dreams, that they matter, and that my guides have information that also matters, but neither of them is more important, right? Like if my guides are like, go do this thing, I'm gonna be like, well, why? And then they're like, well, it's gonna be really important for your path. And I'm like, well, can't my path include more ice cream? And then they're like, we can pencil in some ice cream. And I'm like, great, and I'm like, I'll do it. Right. Like that it's this conversation. We're not being talked at, and life isn't like we're not being forced to live a life, right? Like we engage it. We have tremendous choice. And this livingness that we're doing, this living, gets to increase in ways that are like infinite when we engage it consciously, right? And therefore, my guides aren't like, telling me what to do, right? Like we're hanging out, and they're blessed by helping me, and I'm blessed by helping them, right? Like we're both exchanging. Um, and I think it's really cute, but my guides hit me up for sessions. And I love that, right? Like my guides will be like, Ken, I got this like weird thing. And I'm like, it's ancestral, bro. It's an ancestral thing. And you're going to want to use, I would use the tool to clear the karma, right? And like that engagement for me would be way better than if I just had to sit there and wait for my guides to tell me what to do. And then I do it. So today also, and just finish that, right? In that last session, we kind of imagined that we could heal that relationship with that like inner circle of guides. And then there's like an outer layer, and these are guides that we call on, but they're not necessarily like our dream team ride or die crew, right? And then there's little elemental beings and like Davic beings and other types of beings that we collaborate with, but they're not, let's say, like and the way I describe it is like for my inner crew of guides, where they start and I stop is really difficult for me to say, right? Like where those beings like hopes, dreams, excitement, like where that and my hopes, dreams, and excitement, like they're just like right next to each other. We're like besties, energy work, multi-dimensional besties. That's how I think of it, right? And then elemental beings, like they're up to things, right? Like elemental beings, again, my opinion, they're protecting water, they're like hanging out with plants. And we could talk more about that stuff if you are into it. But specifically today, long ass story, but specifically today, what I want to do is just, even though I'm putting out perspectives that are just my own, I think that because guides is such a sexy topic and it's so cool, that everyone is putting opinions out there of like what that is, how we should do it, what our guides are or aren't. And I think what that does is it just creates a lot of like static between our guides and us, right? And some of that static is like, different programs, right? Familial stuff, how I grew up, then like all these different perspectives. And then what it does is that although my guides continue to be available to me, there's just a lot of, again, static is the word I'm using, between them and myself. The way that we're going to work with it is we're just going to imagine that we honor that these are other people's perspectives and that they work for them, hopefully, right? Unless they make that shit up. And then it doesn't even work for them, right? It sounds cool. And a lot of stuff in energy work, yeah, it sounds really cool. And then when you do it, you're like, it actually wasn't like that at all. Like, it's just like, Yeah. Like people all the time are like non-dual realization. And then you're just like, when you're there, you're like, oh, it's just like, it's just me. It's just big me. You're like, it's just me, but they're like, it's like the ocean returning by a river. And you're like the wave, but the wave is, it's also and you're like, like it just sounds a lot cooler. These things are quite simple. And then it's when we give ourselves to these bigger parts of our path and these bigger movements, then like we become them, right? So anyways, and yeah, ta-da, I talk a lot of shit in case anyone's new. But so we're just gonna clear that stuff. And again, it can work for them, it could be really beautiful. If it's bullshit, we can just like, release it to the earth. But we're just gonna move these things out of the way so that instead of, let's say, like putting our relationship to our guides in a box, we can just step outside of that box and find out what they're like and like hear from them. And I love asking questions. And for me, it's always this process of curiously engaging and finding out new things. And then not even, I'll even say, like, even when I'm finding things out, not letting those things put me in a box. But anyway, so with our guides, right, we can ask questions like, where do I feel them the most? And sometimes for certain guides, I'm like, damn, I feel them in my crown, my third eye. I can feel them just like link right in here. Sometimes we feel them at our heart. Sometimes we can feel them in our back, kind of like guiding us forward. And we're just gonna kind of attune to where they're at and what's, let's say, like the feelings and the meaning associated with that, right? Because let's say I tune into my guides and I feel them at my shoulders and I'm like, cool, what does that feel like? And you're like, it feels heavy and it feels like a lot of pressure. And so then, although I want a relationship with my guides, I might believe it's going to be overwhelming if I do open that up, right? And my sensations and the meaning I'm creating by my relating to them feels overwhelming. And so we literally just change that story, right? Energy work specific, right? It'd be like you literally just change where they connect. So your guides that are linking into your shoulders and it feels heavy, right? And you're like, it's just a lot of momentum. It feels like a lot of pressure. It feels like if I unlock my gifts, like I just feel like I'm gonna be tired all the time, or like I'm busy already and my gifts aren't online. Like my gifts are online, like am I gonna have to save the world, right? And then if instead we just link that into the front of your body, not in your aura, and your guys are just like chilling in a little bubble and they're like a foot tall with cute little outfits, right? You're like, and their little hands, right? And then like you're just like, oh man, you guys are just super cool. They're like, they have all this great advice. Maybe you got like a little grandma, their little robes, exactly, right? And then they just like really want to help you. Then it moves from, again, being overwhelming because of how it feels spatially, right? To then being spacious because it's out in front of me. And that's just one example. But I have had people that are like, I have an entity in my field. I feel this thing attacking me. We sit that, entity in front of them, or they're like, it's a spirit and I think it's bad. We sit it in front of them and I'm like, tune into what's between you and this being. And there's like literal chains. And we heal those chains. And then they're like, oh, wow, this is like a really familiar being that I used to like talk a lot with as a kid. And like, they're here to help me. And so like that relationship broke down because of what was between that being and me, right? Like that connection is a really beautiful one, but the communication had fallen apart, right? And I try to think of like funny and sweet examples, but like, what I'm saying? Like if you have 3 shitty conversations with your roommate, like your relationship with them will fall apart really quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like it just literally takes 3 awkward interactions and then like one passive aggressive comment, and like the relationship will like right, like just knows that. I'm kidding, hopefully not, right? And then literally people say things like, you can cut the tension with a knife, right? So if communication falls apart between me and my roommate, there'll literally be something between me and them in the space between us that will be demonstrative of that lack of communication, lack of congruence, right? Yeah, get what I'm saying? And so if we're not able to communicate with our guides, there will be like things that sneak in there between us. And especially if it's a guide that we're still good. Okay. Yeah, get what I'm talking about. Good. Okay. Especially like if it's a conversation with a guide that's really important, right? So maybe I have agreements with this guide for many lifetimes. Maybe there's a lot of homework that we're here to do. And so although our communication broke down, those agreements are still at play, right? There just might be a lot of messy caca energies between us and that being. And then once we clear the air, right? Once we're like, hey, I'm really sorry I said that you peaked in middle school, you know, and like, my bad. I didn't mean that to be really hurtful. I see how it would be hurtful. And, you know, and you're like, and I'm sorry, you know, and you apologize and it lands, right? That's a joke that I made the last session. That's why I was bringing it back. I think I made it in my intensive, the clear perception intensive. I think I made that joke. And I think just saying like, can you do this with actual people? Yeah. If you energetically invite somebody to sit in front of you, savage, right? So if I'm like, okay, there's a lot of tension between my mom and myself. And so I'm like, I energetically invite my mom to sit in front of me. I can just ask permission to see what's between my mom and me, right? And literally sometimes like you just scan that area between you and them, and there's gonna be cords, there's gonna be hooks, sometimes there's gonna be like little pictures, there'll be walls, like all kinds of shit, you know? And all you do is you just clear the wall and you like thank the wall for attempting to protect you. You release those cords, and there's a lot of different tools and techniques that can be used, right? And then once you can see them, like most of the time, the conflict is already completed. Like we're not even doing hardcore energy work. We're just doing perception work. We're just clearing programs, right? We're like removing filters work, you know? So I know I'm like putting a lot of things out there. I hope this stuff is making sense. But we'll just jump into it. So we got 40 minutes. Again, with our guides right now, we had talked about those different layers. We're gonna work with that core layer of guides, the ones that are, again, like your ride or dies. They're here. They'll probably feel familiar. And even if you can't see them, we're intending to sit them in front of us, and we're feeling into what could be between us and them. And we're just noticing like tension. We're noticing constriction. We're noticing like openings, right? And then we're engaging that information to then grow how the sensation is connecting me to them, let's say, right? And if the sensation is like, again, I feel my guides and they're like, you know, it's so much energy, it's like pushing me back. And then I feel like I can't go forward. I feel like my guides are pushing me back. I feel like spirituality is overwhelming. I feel like all this energy work stuff is overwhelming. And it feels like it's too much. Like literally, you just like scoot them back, or you like literally you scoot them over. So you're not being blasted with the sun, and you're just like next to it, and you're like, oh, it's not so bad, you know? And again, if you put cute outfits on them, it works like a charm. Sometimes to do like emotional work, I'll let my rage be like a marshmallow person, and then I'll let them like fight, you know, and it's like a little marshmallow expressing all this rage. And I'm just like, I love you, buddy. And it's just like, like then it's easier than like if my rage is like destroying buildings, right? And I'm like, no, rage. And I'm trying to contain it, right? But then if you're like, if you create the story and the space, and again, right, my rage, it's really big and it's overwhelming, right? I just scoot it back. I put it in a video game. And again, all the characters are marshmallows. And then you're like, damn, let's express that rage. Let's go. You deserve to be validated, my man. Like, so anyways, hope this is making sense and is helpful. So we're gonna start like we start every week. So we're gonna allow ourselves to be in this really beautiful energy container. And we're gonna have earth and universal energies start to like structure, ground, resource this container. Perfect. And then I love being super clear in like my intentions. And so I love this being a space where all of us is welcome, where we're gonna be triggered, where resistance is gonna come up. I'm positive I'm gonna say something that triggers you at some point, and that's okay. And it's okay because that resistance can be held, it can be loved, it can be healed, and it can help us break open into what is next. And that could be that next lesson, that next healing. There you go. For some of us, it could be shifting timelines. There you go. Good. I also love this being a space where our truth and our inner wisdom is the most important. This is all an exploration of like ourselves, what is authentic to us. There we go. Perfect. And then especially with our guides, this isn't, we're not developing a skill as much as we're like reclaiming something that's ours. And I think that's an important distinction to make, because we're just moving what's in the way. We're not trying to teach you a whole new thing. It's not even techniques that I'm sharing. We're just practicing. And then from there, we're going to let our guides, faster guidance and our guides like pull up, be in this space with us. And they're the ones really leading this session. Our inner wisdom are the ones, our inner wisdom and our guides are collaborating to do this work. There you go. And then for a couple of us, give yourself permission to like feel the resources and like the power, like how much like transformational energies are in this space. And even give yourself permission to like get more from this session that you can even like imagine. Some of us are kind of capping what you think you can get for this. And there's no need to do that. There we go. Nice. Good. And then from there, we're going to tune into our own personal bubble. We'll refresh our connection to the earth. And just kind of notice what your bubble feels like in this moment, what your body feels like in this moment. And sometimes our bodies are tired. Sometimes they're happy, excited. Sometimes there's tension. And just kind of see what today has. Good. And we're going to hold that with a lot of compassion and a lot of awareness. So whatever baseline your body is at, just celebrate that. And these beautiful earth energies that we called on, let them flow into your body. There you go. And let them start to support your body, your muscles, joints. Good. Your whole bones, ligaments, tendons. Yeah, perfect. And different organ systems. Beautiful. And then from here, we're going to put magnets in front of us and behind us. And just imagine, like, as we're clearing energies, we can just be releasing those into the magnets. We can have our guides supporting us in recalling our authentic energies, updating, empowering, enhancing those energies, and just beaming them in, letting them fill any spaces, any gaps. There we go. Perfect. And then we're just going to make a little symbol out in front of us, or you can imagine it's like a little picture. But we're just going to imagine that we are looking at energetically everything we think we know about guides, even around like spirituality, and especially those things that we're like, oh, of course, our guides are intergalactic mermaid, angel, dolphin beings who help us. You know, you're like, oh, of course. You know, you're like, that's what everyone's guides are that, right? Like, and just let those all kind of sit in front of you again, whichever ones are sticky, whichever ones like everyone in our friend group validates and they subscribe to, whatever everyone on Instagram and TikTok and whatever social media things. Remember, I still use MapQuest, so yeah, help me out. Put stuff in that bubble. And then we're just gonna ask the question of all these different perspectives, how many of them are authentically yours? And even like authentically aligned with your like intrinsic relationship with your guides. And if you're a person, that number is probably going to be pretty low. So that's totally okay. If your number's high, just kind of give yourself permission to like be surprised and that it's okay if that number's low. Perfect. So we're going to hold that bubble of information with Earth. Again, we're going to celebrate that all these perspectives, they matter and they're other people's perspectives, and we can respect that. And we're going to just release them and send them back. There. And then if there's any perspectives that are kind of sicky and don't want to go back to the sender, just release them to the earth, release them to your universe. And these energies can be recycled. And then there's going to be programs that are like a little stickier. And so that's going to be like familial, ancestral information. Somebody had shared around like religious programming. And just give your inner wisdom permission to put out in front of you whatever of those programs it's like safe, it's well within your resource to look at. And the same thing, we'll put them in that bubble And this time, because these are stickier, we're going to wash over them with earth energies. We'll wash over them with healing, nourishing water. We're going to bring that element of fire and start completing contracts. Start allowing your guides to move through any karmic energies and helping you complete those. Again, trusting your inner wisdom to take the lead. There we go. Good. And we'll bring the element of wind. We're going to bring golden cosmic energies and just allow these energies out in front of you to start to transmute, start to heal, evolve. And then once again, we're going to allow whatever is ready to release into the earth to do so. Whatever is ready to release to the universe, we'll go back to the sender. Good. And from this energy work, just allow your authentic relationship to guides and guidance to start to open. Allow it to be informed by the earth, the universe, this container, vaster aspects of yourself. And then we're just going to see how much of those energies feel aligned with us bringing into our body. Some of those energies can be a part of our aura. Some of them can upload into our Akashic. But again, just giving them that full permission to find that sweet spot for these energies. And for those energies that are coming into our physical body, just allow yourself to make space. There you go. Allow your different energy centers to kind of like integrate this energy, gently heal, gently clear, gently evolve. Nice. We're going to let this reset our Akashic. Let this reset and evolve our identity, our self-concept, our reality belief structures. Perfect. We'll offer these energies back in time and forward in time, just gently making that really big space available for integration. Looks really good. Perfect. I'm going to let that part of the process clear, dissolve, and integrate. And then that again, evolve how we relate to our guides, relate to guidance, making that really big space for, again, that mutual benefit, releasing frames on hierarchy, on punishment. And one more time, we're going to refresh our connection to the earth. We're going to release energies into those magnets. We're going to have our guides recall our authentic energies. And this time we're going to have that inner crew of guides sit in front of us. Good. And let them sit in like a circle. We're going to bring a grounding cord. And as those guides are being invited to sit in front of you, just notice what's up between you and them, what's in that space. So first notice the distance. Are they too close? Are they too far? And we can clear energies, we can clear pictures. And pictures we're imagining just any stuck story getting to release into the earth, or it can be transmuted. There we go. Perfect. And then notice, like, kind of spatially, are they above you, behind you, beneath you? And just invite them to come sit in front of you and clear energies until them sitting in front of you is like really comfortable. And now we're gonna one more time just kind of scan to see if there's any static. And this can be societal energies, familial, ancestral, even past life. And we're just gonna wash over ourselves and our guides with earth, clearing anything heavy, stuck, blocked. We'll wash over ourselves and our guides with healing, nourishing water. We'll bring that element of fire next. And just allow ourselves to again clear karma, clear contracts, clear cords. Bring that element of wind. And one more time, allowing those earth and universe energies to just allow for a really big healing. There we go. Perfect. And then as we heal and release those energies in the way, right, that static, allow that to increase the clarity. There we go. And then just allow your guides to share with you a way that they can communicate with you. An example would be visually, right? You can hear them so audibly. You could feel them so sensory. You could just kind of feel it in your bones, right? That could be in your knowingness. But we're going to refresh our connection to the earth. We're going to recall our authentic energies. We're going to keep clearing stuck energies and just increase your permission to communicate with them. And as that communication is opening and deepening, just kind of scan your body if there's any tension. Scan your aura if there's any like little blocks anywhere, little places of constriction or walls. And again, same thing, classic. We're going to wash over our aura with earth and with healing, nourishing water. Bring that element of fire, then that element of wind. There we go. Allow that opening happening with your guides to gently integrate. We're going to upload all of the things that we're learning into our Akashic. And there's even more like learnings that we can get from the earth, from the universe, from this container, from our guides themselves, and just give permission to bring those downloads in. And those downloads can be happening on a soul level. They can be coming in and evolving how our conscious mind works with our guides. Our subconscious works with our guides. There. And as those downloads and reference points come in, let that just one more time gently heal and evolve your relationship to your guides. Gently increasing the clarity. And then one more time, we're gonna let this reset our identity and self-concept, allowing all this beautiful work to integrate. Letting this gently heal and evolve how we relate to the subtle. Perfect. Allowing this to evolve our whole kind of like collaboration with our soul, our essence, with our skills like cognizance, clairvoyance, sentience, clairaudience. We're going to offer these energies back in time. And if there's any moments back in time that want a quick kind of healing or clearing, just allow this container to gently wash over those moments with the earth, healing, nourishing water. Element of fire and wind. Just gently allowing that to evolve our past, evolve our present, and therefore evolve our future. Good. We're going to let this process start to gently integrate and come to a close. We're going to intentionally individuate. And so just allow yourself to recall your energies from anyone else in the class. I'm going to give everyone their energies back. You give me my energies back. Good. And while we're doing that, we're going to all kind of step out of the container. We'll refresh our connection to the earth, clear with magnets, recall our authentic energy so that we're in our own unique bubble. Perfect. And then this container that we made, it's kind of cool now that we're outside of it. You can like look at it from the outside, right? But we're going to imagine that our guides, vaster guidance, the earth, the universe, they make it like bigger, wider, more multidimensional. And just imagine that we could like offer this container and that we could send it out to wherever it's going to help the most amount of beings. And so anyone that wants to build a new relationship to their guides, wants to do this beautiful work, they can have this container available to them. And I like to imagine that it just makes healing work that much easier. It makes questions around our guides that much easier to answer. And boom.